My video for February the 6th, 2020 is number 3,358. The title is Unborn Babies Aren't Human and Have No Rights. Oh, the irony. Ethan Huff has an article dated 2/5/2020 in LouRockwell.com that caught my eye. The full title is, quote, Human Rights Organization says unborn babies aren't human and have no rights, end quote. Yes, that is one of the sites I subscribe to and get articles from every day. It is billed as anti-state, anti-war, and pro-market. Of course, it means free market, not one controlled by the so-called money masters that create the states, promote war, and control not only the market, but virtually all aspects in human society. If a fetus has no rights, then humans that grow from the fetus have no rights either. That is the position of the corporate world that has demoted humans from living beings into dead entities. How am I, or how is anyone who thinks human life has meaning supposed to deal with such insanity? In the article, it says, quote, Kenneth Roth, the head of a so-called human rights organization known as Human Rights Watch, recently came out to claim that unborn babies have no human rights because they aren't human like adult women who have the human right to get abortions if they so choose. ... Roth openly criticized Secretary of State Mike Pompeo for even creating the U.S. Commission on Unalienable Rights, which seeks to include unborn babies or unborn human life, which seeks to include unborn human life under the banner of all human rights, seeing as how unborn babies are, in fact, human beings, end quote. When will the insanity ever end? I apologize for screwing up the reading. This is actually my second take because I screwed up the first one even worse than that. Anyway, folks, I go round and round and round. I mean, when I went to bed last night, I had a few ideas on my mind for today's video, but when I came to the computer and earlier and looked at that Lou Rockwell page, which came in about the same time I copped to the computer, a little after 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, no, I've got to talk about that again, because this is something that is insane to me. We, all of us, have been demoted from being human to being just corporate structures. On my birth certificate, as I've said in other videos, my mother, the one that issued by the state of New York, where I was born, in Suffern, New York, at the quote Good Samaritan Hospital. Anyway, it lists my mother as the informant. Now, that's not on the certificate of live birth. I have 2 birth certificates, a certificate of live birth, and then one issued by the state of New York. And the whole thing, folks, if you don't see it, the whole thing is insane. Now, one of my friends sent me a piece that I've seen that other friends have sent me, but another friend sent it to me again in the recent batch of emails and stuff that I received, or Facebook messages on Messenger. And I keep getting invited to go on Messenger. I've been on it for, at least a couple of years, 2-3 years. Anyway, my friend says when we were kids, we played and hide and seek and stayed out till dark, and we didn't need all the rules and regulations. We didn't have computers. We played sports. We took walks in nature. We did things that were just a normal part of growing up post World War II. And of course, I can relate. That's when I grew up. But now kids want to be on the computer, on their cell phones. They carry their cell phones with them, even in school and stuff like that. And everything has changed. I mean, when I was a kid, there were a few overweight children, but not most of the ones. Can't remember a single one that I used to play football with, and baseball, and uh, basketball, and tag, and and hide and seek, and other games, sports and games that children play. I can't remember anyone that was actually overweight. Now, I did have a couple of overweight people in my class, but they weren't part of the game playing in my life. Not anybody on my street, and I grew up with a lot of kids. I mean, practically every family on the street area the immediate area that I grew up in, practically all of them had at least one or two children, some more, but everybody had children, and we played together, hopscotch even, and and other games, and we were little human beings. But little human beings start as fetuses. Now, I have gone to the place where I can say, okay, if a woman can decide when she first realizes she's pregnant that she doesn't want to carry the pregnancy to its completion, she needs to make that decision within the first 3 months. And if it's not done within the first 3 months, it should not be done at all. It's murder then, because already the child has formed, and it can be recognized even in the second trimester as a human being. I'm not exactly sure the exact point that the fetus is recognizable as a human. I'm not sure. I mean, the information is probably out there. I just don't know it. But this whole thing is a dehumanizing factor by the controllers. And when I hear people talk about Republicans and the impeachment thing, talk about our constitutional rights, they were taken away from us basically by the middle of the 18th century. They were gone already. And we were already being corporatized. And by the early 20th century, we were just corporate beings. We were no longer human. And we had no human rights because we had been demoted and didn't even know it. I didn't know it growing up when I used to play as a kid. I didn't know all these things. I grew up innocent, but kids today don't seem to have innocence anymore. The innocence has been robbed from them in this modern culture where they have to have gates around the playgrounds and lock them up so you can't even get on the playground. Now, I don't know if that is where that exists where I grew up. I imagine it is, but I haven't been to my hometown that I grew up in Midland Park, New Jersey. I haven't been there for a long time, so I'm not sure. I could of course ask my family that still lives in that area if they are gated fields and stuff like they are here in Florida. But it's crazy. I mean, everything is in lockdown basically, and the students are apparent prisoners. Uh, the world is nuts. Does anybody else see that, or am I the only one? I'm sure I'm not. I'm not the only one. The people that run things invert everything and take away from us our dignity, take away from us our freedom, and take away from us our rights. We all have human rights because we're human. We were born that way. Thank you for listening, and namaste.